KMC here. Welcome back. We got new chats for you this year, and I've got some great people coming up for you to listen to and see and hear what's going on in their lives. Today, I am very, very happy and proud to be able to present my friend Lee Lessack. Lee is an amazing vocalist who I met back in the early 90s and followed his cabaret career for several years. In the 90s, he began his own label. He is a agent, booking talent for artists, and he continues to tour in concerts and has done some wonderful things during the pandemic to keep things going and to do the things that he loves. And I'm going to let you listen to him, and he's going to tell you all about it. So sit back and relax, and please help me welcome my dear friend, Lee Lessack. Everybody, welcome my dear friend, Lee Lessack. Lee, how are you, honey?
I'm good. I'm good.
I know you've been in quarantine now, just like everybody else, right?
I have been since March 16th.
Wow. Yeah.
I flew to Florida on the 5th or 6th to start a 6-week tour. I visited my family. They live in Florida. And then I did one concert and everything fell apart. And yeah, I did a concert in Naples on the 11th. And then we drove up to Fort Lauderdale, and I found like the Airbnb to beat all Airbnbs. This house was fantastic. And we were like in heaven. It was like, well, you're in Palm Springs, so you'll appreciate this. It won like an award for mid-century modern design.
Nice.
And it had a great pool and spa. It was gorgeous. I rented it for an entire 5 weeks, and I was there for 2 days.
So did you just pack up and get out right away?
Well, at first I thought I would stay there because it was a really good house. And Mark was sending me pictures of the supermarket shelves here, which were empty.
Yeah.
But in Florida, it hadn't hit like that. So I went to Publix and it was full. It was just like normal. So I thought maybe I should stay here because it's better.
Right.
And then I woke up in the middle of the night in such a panic because I thought, what if I can't get out?
Yeah.
And I went on delta.com because I was going from Florida to Des Moines for 4 shows and then back to LA. So my ticket was not direct back to LA, but I was able to for $80, I was able to change it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going home. And I'm glad I did because of course it got just as bad there as it was here.
Yeah, yes, it's been a very weird time in our lives, without a doubt.
You think?
Yeah, and to be in your business, but you've been very busy. I mean, so Lee is this great cabaret singer, as I told you guys in the intro. And he makes music and he makes people happy, and he should be able to do that whenever he can. So he
you know what though, we are getting shit done here at the Williams Lessack household.
Well, that's awesome.
So that's good. We all the things you put off, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
We got all of our estate planning and trust and will, everything is
all the stuff
done.
that's pushed aside because
everything is done. I hired a new financial advisor and diversified all my retirement, and that's all done.
That's
and
great.
We've done renovations, and it's we have gotten stuff done. So that feels good. And I got vaccinated on Friday. Randomly. I had booked an appointment for our dear friend and your dear friends, Carol Cook and Tom Troop, 97 and 92 years young, to go to Dodger Stadium, for the drive-through vaccination. And Mark is 69. So LA County opened up for 65 and older. And so I had appointments for all of them. And that morning, a good friend of mine called me and said, a buddy of mine took his mom to Dodger Stadium for the vaccine. And it was towards the end of the day. And when they got, to the front of the line, they said, do you want a vaccination as well? Because we have extra doses and they're going to expire. So his friend got vaccinated as well. So I had that information and I'm thinking, how can I play this? So you get there, they ask how many appointments you have. 3, there's a line for 1 vaccination, 2 or 3 or more. So we go in that line. It was very well organized. It was not a very long wait. It was, we had a 6 o'clock appointment at night. And so we get to the front of the line and they come and they email you a confirmation that has a QR code in the email for them to scan. So they come with like a little iPad, and I had everybody's emails on my phone. So I'm like pulling them up and they're showing me the name and the birth date to confirm and everything. And the woman was very nice. And I said, I'm just the driver, caretaker guy, but do you have an extra shot? And she said, oh, sure, I can register you right now. Like that.
That was lucky. I mean, that is lucky.
I was lucky, and it honestly, it was a moment I'll never forget because, for 11 months now.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I don't leave the house. I don't go food shopping. I don't go anywhere.
So
I've been in my house.
So you've really been there this whole time?
The whole time, except for a doctor's appointment or a haircut.
Yeah.
And I do not leave the house.
Bless you. Bless you. I work in a hospital now. During the pandemic, I switched jobs. So that was kind of fun. But I ended up working for a hospital. And when you work in a hospital, they got to make sure all those people are vaccinated. So I got mine about a week or 2 ago. And then I get my second one in February, beginning of February.
Yeah, me too. February 19th.
Yeah. Well, Mark and I both got COVID during this time. As safe as we were, but we mild cases, and we both are fine now. But he has to wait for his vaccine because he's not 65. So he's waiting to call and do all that. But I'll have my second one, like I said, in a few weeks. It's just such a weird time. And then, like you said, to not go out, just to do normal, just everyday normal things is so weird. I have been going to the grocery store. I've changed now to where I call and just go pick it up. They bring it out to the car.
That's good.
That part was good.
I will say, 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, I woke up one morning with an intense, and I mean intense need to go to Trader Joe's. And I did.
You did.
I went right at 8 o'clock when they opened. There was nobody there, and it felt okay. So I've been a few times, but for the most part, I just order on Instacart or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's just not worth it. It's to take a chance. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, there's no national directive. And until there is, we're never going to get past this. So for me, staying home is doing my part. I literally, Mark and I, once since March 16th, once went to dinner and ate outside. Other than that, we haven't left the house.
Yeah, they just reopened restaurants here yesterday, and but Mark he came in today and said, here's all the places who are opening up, and they got this and that. He says, but I have no desire to go eat there. He said, so we'll just do takeout.
Oh,
said,
yeah.
That's fine. We've been trying to support the locals here with that because it's tough for everybody. These businesses have suffered. But, the arts, I think, have suffered, the most in that respect, too. I mean, And it's
Yeah.
the one thing, it's the one thing everybody at home is doing while this pandemic's going on. They're online, they're looking at things, they're streaming things. And I thought, it's just, oh, it's kind of crazy. Have you performed at all? Have you sung at all on, because you're,
So a year ago, or maybe 14 months ago, a phenomenal jazz pianist, arranger in New York that I've worked with, Ted Firth, he's producing or arranging an album for an artist in New Jersey. And so anyway, we connected because he wanted to pitch the artist to me to release the album on my record label, LML Music. And we had a conference call and I was like, sure. Ted is so brilliant that anything he touches is brilliant.
nice.
And so that was that. Then it's the new year, it's 2020. I go out on tour. I had a tour in January, I had a tour in February, and I'm going out in March. And I come home and I get a text from the artist, Robert, and he had some licensing questions. Now, I am one of probably 3 people in Los Angeles County that had never used the FaceTime feature on my phone. Yeah, because my question is, when is anybody like camera ready with no notice? No. So I never used it. And I didn't know what Zoom was. I had never been invited to a Zoom. But in those first days that I came home from that tour, everybody wanted facial connection. So Robert texted me because he had some licensing questions. And I said, I can't even believe I texted this back. I said, why don't we have a cocktail over FaceTime, at 5 o'clock? And he's like, great. So I'm out on the back patio by the pool with Mark and the dogs, and we're having a cocktail, and I'm FaceTiming with this complete stranger. And we are just laughing. He's a really funny guy and whatnot. And Mark couldn't remember that his name was Robert. He kept calling him David. And every time Mark walked by. Anyway, so the next day at like 2 PM, I get a text, are we cocktailing tonight at 5? And I was like, yes, please, because I've been home alone.
I've got nothing to do.
Next thing I know, it's like 10 days. I've spoken to this person every day. I've never met him. Every day. And just laughing at the world. And,
That's sweet.
And I said to him, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think we're really entertaining. We should produce a weekly live stream talk show. I didn't want to produce a music show because being a music administrator, there was so many questions floating around, like what is legal? What do you need to license? What's the royalty? What are the rights issues? And nobody knew. I spoke to my attorney. Nobody knew. And I still don't think today they really know. So I wanted to just talk. And so we started inviting our friends from the Broadway world, from TV, from film, singers, music, whatever. And we just started having a good time. Every Thursday, we started this show called Quarantine, Cabaret, and Cocktails. And it has been a gift because I have a creative outlet. I've learned how to engineer a live stream. I've learned how to edit video. Because I do all of that.
You do that all. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
All of it. Yeah. And we've had amazing guests. Amazing guests.
Yes.
And we've built a a live viewership of like, when Lea Salonga was on, we had over 13,000 live viewers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great that they want to do it too. You know what I'm saying? I'm very grateful for anyone who wants to talk
Yeah.
And if you wanted to try and set up a chat like that outside of this environment, it would have taken forever to get a date, a place, a time, the equipment. And so
Everybody's available.
you're right. I mean, look at us. I mean, it was like, yes, I'm ready. Let's do it. The thing I love about the quarantine series that you have too is that it's a variety of people. It's a variety. And your partner on the show, what's his name? Is it Robert? Robert. Okay, I was going to pull a Mark there, but no. He's got such a lively personality as well. It is a wonderful combo that the two of them have. And I'm going to recommend episode 19, everyone. I watch it a lot of times. Look at you. Don't even know what your 19th episode is.
I don't. What was it?
In Good Company.
Oh my God.
It was
that was crazy. So like the first week I was home, there's a woman that I met at Rancho La Puerta, which is this amazing, like restorative wellness camp in Mexico, right over the border. You fly into San Diego and they pick you up and drive for an hour. It's amazing. And I've gone there like 3 or 4 times as a vocalist. And so I can bring a guest, my musical director can bring a guest, and it's incredible. I mean, the classes, every hour on the hour, there's, a dozen classes to choose from yoga and meditation and Pilates and TRX and cycling and hiking and cooking and everything. And you do a concert like in the yoga room and people are like literally like laying down. Crazy, but so good. And I met this woman from New York there, Beth, and she's fabulous. And so we struck up a friendship. And when I'm in New York, often we get together for coffee or dinner or whatever. She called me and we were hiking our dogs and she said, she texted me and she said, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you and I've been listening to your music a lot this week, especially your duets album, because it has brought me the greatest sense of calm in a moment that is filled with anxiety. And I just thought, well, that was so sweet. And so I shared the text with Mark and he said, I wish there was a way that you could like re-release this album, because when you released it in 2005, there wasn't Instagram. And now you live on social media,
right.
And it wasn't there then, So I talked to a friend of mine that does a lot of, video editing and production. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, we can't leave the house. So how do you do that? And he said, well, I think you have to engage people with video because they'll watch video.
Visual, right? Yeah.
Visual. Like if you do a post with a link to Spotify, they're not going to go that far. But if there's a video clip, you'll engage them. So I reached out to all the artists. In 2005, I produced In Good Company, and it was a duets album I recorded with 17 other artists. And it was just one of those artistic experiences for me that, I can't even really put into words, because I was recording with people that, I idolized, that I never thought I would meet, let alone be in a recording studio with.
The playlist on that recording is amazing in every sense of that word. From the arrangements to the vocals, and when I first got that, I was like, look at all these people. So now my question is, did you just call them and say, would you?
Yeah. I just emailed people. Wow. Or like I asked Ann Hampton Calloway, who's a friend of mine, and then I was like, can you forward an email to Michael Feinstein for me? And she did. And then his assistant called and said, Michael said, great. And then she's like, and what exactly is he agreeing to? And so we set up Zoom interviews like this.
Uh-huh.
And I interviewed each artist for like 5-10 minutes. We talked about the process, about the song that we recorded together, about how we met, if we had met, blah, blah, blah. And then we edited that down to literally 60 to 90 seconds. We really edited. So it was a real quick sizzle burst of that person. And then every week for, 17 weeks, I re-released that song.
Yeah.
And then we did an episode of Quarantine, Cabaret and Cocktails, and we reunited many of the artists. Yeah, that was episode 19. I forgot.
I go back to that because, I love all the recordings and stuff, but that one specifically, it had so many people on it. So when you were going to have people on, I thought that was a lot of fun to do. And then, of course, your husband has this lovely moment or four in it where he's so emotional. I can't even get through it sometimes. He's so emotional.
It was so funny because we did a sound check. And, he was up in his office, which is above the garage. And I'm in my office here in the house. And like during the day, we talked about it. I'm like, I know you're very emotional, but, this is live and, you want to kind of hold it together. And we did the sound check. And he was a bundle of mess. It was funny. But, it was his idea. It was his idea to do this project. And he was very involved in the song list and in the guest list of who would I record with. And so, crazy to think that
he was just so full of emotion. And then as it was over too, he was like, did I do okay? And you guys are just like, you were great.
Hard to believe that was 15 years ago.
Well, that surprises me because I guess for some reason, I shouldn't say it. It shouldn't surprise me because I've had that recording quite a long time. So I'm going back now to when I first met you and was introduced to your music. When did the first CD come out? Lee Lessack was the first one, yes?
95.
Okay, so I saw you that year, I'm sure. My husband, Mark, took me out for a Valentine's Day dinner at a place you were performing.
Toulouse?
It might have been. It might have been.
Toulouse on the Park.
I bet you that's where it was.
And the restaurant, you walked into the ground floor of this condo and the restaurant was on the left. And then on the right was this cognac bar that sat 35 people. And we did, 2 shows a night for however many weeks.
I know you were doing 2 shows that night. I saw you. We saw the first one. But I didn't know anything about cabaret back then. I mean, really cabaret, I don't remember if it was its own entity for a lot of people or not. My only exposure was Karen Mason in Chicago. And we went to all that. And so that's the only person I thought of cabaret and how that works. But Mark was like, we're going to go and we're going to see this guy. He's really, don't know how he knew about you or how it worked out, and you were so sweet to us afterwards because we had to talk to you because I was like, my eyes were like this the whole time. It was spectacular. And I know that's my favorite CD of yours, but all of them are good. I don't know what I'm saying, but I fell in love with your voice, and then to meet you, and then we caught up with you again at Davenport's and other venues and followed you around, and you have just really been like, and still are just one of my favorite male vocalists, and the way your voice can soothe people, and I mean that it's soothing. So I can relate to when you said that friend of yours told you what a joy that's having on someone, and then your other recordings, I love them. I love that you have like the live recording of Mercer is another one of my absolute favorites. Everyone, I hope you're taking notes and making sure you're going to order these all now because they are fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about one of the latest ones that you did was the Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah. So
how'd that come about?
I met Johnny Rogers, who's an incredible singer, songwriter, musical director. He spent years touring and musical directing for Liza Minnelli.
Right.
I was doing a show, I think my Mercer show at Davenport's in Chicago. And Johnny was playing in the front.
He played out in the front.
And as I was walking out of the club, I heard him, and he was uniquely different than most schmaltzy piano bar musicians.
No doubt.
There was just a quality about his playing, his vocals. I was like, whoa. And so, but I was like with my family and everything because my folks lived in Chicago at the time.
I remember that.
So, yeah. So I waited until he finished his set and I introduced myself and, got his email or whatever and sort of kept my eye out on what he was doing. And several years later, he had moved to New York and I was touring with a trio called Three Men and a Baby Grand. And we got booked on a cruise on the QE2. No, on the Rotterdam, Holland, America, from New York to Reykjavik, Iceland. And our musical director was not available. So I called Johnny because he was in New York and it was leaving from New York. And he said, sure, I'll learn the show and I'll do it with you. And I flew to, I remember flying to New York a couple days early because Nine, the revival of Nine was on Broadway. And I know Jane Krakowski and I wanted to see her in it. And that was the night of the blackout. So everything shut down, like there were no shows. And then the cruise was to leave the next day, but because there was a blackout and a power outage, flights couldn't land. So the cruise had to wait because passengers that were coming to New York to get on the ship hadn't arrived yet.
Couldn't be there, right?
And oh my God, it was, and then that cruise was Johnny was fantastic. We had a great time, but we got caught in like 3 storms that like converged. And I literally thought we were not going to make it. I have never, ever been in rough water like that. There were like 65-foot swells and it was awful. And we were 2 days late getting to the final destination because we were stuck. Oh, it was awful. It was awful. But while I was on that cruise, Johnny was playing me selections from his first solo album, Box of Photographs, that I just love. All original tunes that he wrote. Brilliant songwriting, brilliant arrangements, great vocals. I just loved it. And it was shortly after that Mark and I started talking about this duets album because it was the 10-year anniversary of my record label, LML Music, which I started in 95 for my first album. So in 2005, we wanted to do something special. And I thought if I'm going to be doing duets with 17 other voices, I need a sound that's going to sort of unite and unify everybody. And I loved the arrangements on Johnny's album. It was sort of like Norah Jones meets Billy Joel. It was good. It was good. So I called him and asked him to do it, and he said yes, and there you go.
How long did you guys, were you still touring at the time of the pandemic or were you done?
We had just started. That was me and Johnny. So Johnny called me, I don't know, 5 years ago, and he's like, I think we need a new show. We need to do a show together. And I'm like, what do you think? And he said, what do you think about a Simon and Garfunkel show? And I was like, well, that'd be great. I mean, I love that songbook. I love that music. But there are other tours out there, and I needed to do some research. And I thought, what's going to make this like very specific and unique? Because we didn't want to like impersonate or anything.
Well, yeah.
So I came up with this idea. What if we were just to recreate the identical set list that they performed in 1981 in Central Park.
Yeah.
And we created a whole series called Live in Central Park Revisited.
Yep.
And we do Simon and Garfunkel, we do James Taylor, we do Andrea Bocelli. And that's how this started. And it's been the most successful concert I have ever produced. It is a joy. It is a songbook I never thought I would perform or sing. Johnny is just like literally the best person to tour with. He's very low maintenance. There's no drama. There's no ego. He's a worker. He loves to perform. We get along great.
The chemistry is dynamite. The sound is amazing. And then you each have your solos in that show too, that definitely showcase each of your own talent together. It's dynamite. This is a double CD, if I'm not mistaken, is it?
No, it's not. It's single.
Oh, maybe just in my head, I'm thinking it was double, but because I love it so much, it's double the fun.
You've played it twice.
Yeah. Or I bought it twice. Maybe that's what I did. Oh, I did. I gave it to a friend as well. That's right. A friend who I brought to the show that night too.
That is a great joy. That is a great, it's a great joy, not only because, I mean, that set list is iconic, but I've never done a concert where I look out into the audience and literally every person that I can see is mouthing every lyric. So it just resonates with people. And I love that. I love that. You know, it's a very joyful experience to do that tour.
It's wonderful. I hope you get back to that one. And are you ever coming to Palm Springs? Ever?
We're available.
Okay. Well, we've got nowhere for you to perform right now. So
there you go. I know. I've talked to the McCallum. I've talked to the Annenberg. You know, the thing is I don't do like clubs and cabarets anymore, and I haven't for years. I mean, I just don't. You know, with this Simon and Garfunkel show, I mean, we're playing huge.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing 7,000 seat outdoor amphitheaters and blah blah blah. So I don't seek out 75 or 100 seat clubs.
My point is that I want to see you out here at some point.
Okay, fine.
As well, and if we get a big enough venue for you, which will be.
You've got venues, you know.
We do.
So we'll figure it out.
Well, it would be great. And again, that show itself is wonderful. And so let's talk about what you're doing now.
So during this quarantine, we started this weekly live stream talk show. I mean, I can't believe we're going on to episode 41 on Thursday.
You do it every week.
Every week.
For an hour.
For an hour. We took off New Year's Eve. And we took off 1 week in October because Mark and I rented an RV and went on an RV like camping trip. I don't want to talk about it publicly.
You should have done the show from there and shown us.
Well, I wasn't sure if the connection would be good or whatever. So anyway, we actually did a pre-show. We do an Instagram live pre-show, and the week after, it was the day after we got back, and they hadn't picked up the RV. So I filmed the pre-show from the RV. It was an experience. We went to Utah to Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon. It was gorgeous. But I believe that when God created the world, he created the population in two groups, those that camp and those that don't. And you can imagine which group we fall into.
I know where I'm at.
Anyway,
God.
So on our weekly show, just randomly, we started doing, like once a month or once every other month, a Broadway cast reunion. And we noticed that our live viewership numbers like spiked. Like we got the original principal Broadway cast of Sideshow. Emily Skinner,
Yes.
Alice Ripley, Hugh Panaro, help me out.
His name is right here in my head.
Norm Lewis.
That's
Norm
it.
Lewis. Jeff, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like a mind like a sieve. I'm forgetting people, but we had them all. And then I surprised the cast halfway through and had the director, composer, and lyricist on.
Very emotional. They were all surprised. I mean,
we got such a cult following.
Oh, well, I'm one of those people, so yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. So we started doing those, and long story short, I was talking to a venue that I book concerts with in Milwaukee. It's the big, it would be like the McCallum in Palm Springs. It's the big Broadway tour venue, symphony space, but they also do concerts. And he's a big fan of our weekly show. And he said, what are you doing to monetize this, especially your cast reunions? And I was like, nothing. I mean, I started this for fun. And he said, well, as a major Broadway tour presenter whose venue will remain dark for another year, I think there's value here. And I think that I would love the opportunity to offer this to my patrons who were so looking forward to coming to see Hadestown or Dear Evan Hansen, but they can't. And so how would you like to spend an hour with the original Broadway cast until our doors open again? And it planted a seed, and then we realized that there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and we wanted to do it right, and we wanted to get, the blessing from the producers. And so we have, it's amazing. I mean, we've got Disney behind us. We're opening the series with Frozen. The entire original Broadway principal cast will be with us. Hadestown, we've got 5 principal cast members, plus Rachel Chavkin, the director, and Anais Mitchell, who wrote the show. She'll be with us. That's the 24th of February. We've got Dear Evan Hansen in March. We're going to be doing 2 a month, every other week. Okay. They'll be on Wednesdays, every other week at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Central. And I'm thrilled. And so we're selling this package to venues so that they can then offer it to their patrons as a gift of engagement. But it's also available on Stellar Tickets, which is the Gold Star ticket. It's their virtual theater platform that they started. It's called Stellar. And it's on there because we've got viewers all over the world. And there are a lot of people that don't live near a Broadway tour house or are not subscribers that love theater. So anybody can access this if you just go to Broadwaycastreunion.com.
We'll put that up.
All of the reunions are on there, and there's a link for single tickets. It's $15. And you can spend an hour with the cast, and you can ask questions with the chat feature. We'll answer as many as we can. And I think it's going to be really, really fun to have these conversations, I
think it's great that it's offered. I mean, who would have thought that would even happen to us, that you'd be able to have an opportunity like that? People, average theater goers don't get that. And they can do it from the comfort of their own home and enjoy something totally unique and different for $15. I mean, that's...
Somebody said to me the other day, I hope you realize that even after theaters open again and the pandemic is gone, this series will live on because it's a really great marketing tool for venues because, you and I, if we go to a Broadway show, usually we go backstage because we know somebody in the show. But most people don't have that experience. And so this is a way to go backstage, and the cast members, really let their hair down. We have a great time, a great conversation, and most people don't get that experience. And like with regards to like a show like Hadestown, I was talking to a venue in Dallas that is presenting it, and they said, I was talking to the VP of marketing, and he said, this is really a great concept, especially for a show like Hadestown, because, you know, it won the Tony Award for Best Musical, but I don't think our patrons really know what it's about. And so for them to be able to tune in with a conversation with the cast, it'll give them a clue of what it's about.
It's like a little preview for them.
Like
did you get to see that on Broadway?
I did see Hadestown on Broadway,
So
and
did
I still don't know what it's about.
Exactly. You're right. It was visually and musically wonderful.
God, it was
I enjoyed it.
one of the most stunning pictures they created. I loved it. I loved the show. I was a little lost. I'm looking forward to this cast reunion and to get to talk to the director, because she's
Ask
like
some questions. Ask some questions.
Yeah.
But, it was wonderful. Well, this is awesome. I want to, first of all, thank you again for taking some time with me and for doing my little video show, which, you know, it plays well in my Palm Springs area, and people back home look at it, and anyone who knows Lee Lessack will love listening to this, I'm sure. I can't promote this guy enough as an entertainer, and now he's this great big producer, record label man, and you've got, how many people are recording for you right now? How many do you have, roughly?
I think we have over 140 some artists.
Did you ever think you would be going into that when you started?
No, never. I started a record label because I had an album and
you wanted to sing.
I needed a label. I never thought, and certainly I never thought, you know, that we'd be here all these years later. It's crazy.
But you're still getting to perform when you can, which is great. And wherever you are, you know that Carol and Tom are going to be there, who are just the most darling people. I met them at your show, is where I met them, and then she's been out here doing a couple things, and I always go and talk with her, and she's fabulous. So you have such the great connections with the performers, which you know, any of my theater friends, I mean, this is the guy who he gets to talk to all of them and share stories with. You know, you had Melba Moore on, just amazing. And then Melissa,
my favorite moment, if I may share.
Please.
I've been like a fan of Melba Moore like forever. I never thought I'd meet her. And her manager contacted us to ask if she could be on our show because she had a new single or something. And she's gorgeous. And she was about to turn 80 in October.
Can't be.
A week after our show. And I mean, gorgeous and not a wrinkle. And I said, Melba, I have to say, I mean, you look fantastic. I mean, your skin is stunning. What is your secret? And she looked at me and she said, Jesus. That is my favorite moment of every episode we've ever done.
And she meant that, I'm sure. I mean,
trust me, she meant it.
She's great. Always, I just think she's awesome too. So it's those little ones off, because I review. You got a lot of Cabaret Quarantines.
Yes,
there's a lot to
choose.
Do. So are you going to do both?
Yeah. So, Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails is every Thursday.
Oh,
every Thursday. And then the new Broadway cast reunion series launches on the 17th of February, and it'll be 2 episodes a month.
Awesome.
And we've committed to 6 months. You know, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, that's awesome. So when you do all of this now, are you getting paid? Is there a way for people to supplement that? Do you have a link?
I have, like, we did like a virtual tip jar on our weekly show, and I usually forget to put that ticker tape up, and sometimes we make $10. Sometimes, I know, it's crazy, but the Broadwaycast Reunion show is a for-profit venture because I want to employ these Broadway artists that have been sitting at home for 10 months.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're charging $15 a ticket, and we're selling it to venues very reasonably. but the show costs us, probably $12,000 to $15,000 to produce, because we're paying these artists ridiculously well to sit in their living room and talk to us because they've been unemployed for 10 months.
Exactly.
So that is definitely for profit. When you go on Stellar Tickets, or when you go on Broadwaycastreunion.com and you click to buy a ticket, when you check out, there is an option to make a donation. So we love that. And but people can like Venmo our tip jar if they want. I think it's just Lee-Lessack. I'll email you because I don't.
Yeah, do it. And then once I have it, I'll make sure we show it. I think what's really important here too, and I'm a big proponent of this, is that you guys are doing some work too, and you need to pay some of your bills, and you've got people who are helping you produce, and I can't go out, so I might as well give you some money. I mean, because I'm enjoying.
I'm glad that you are. I look forward to making a deposit. Again, member deposits.
Back then, back in the day,
back in the day when we used to make deposits.
Oh gosh.
What was worse is like all the tours fell apart. And in addition to touring, I represent and book artists like Lea Salonga and Chita Rivera, and I had all these tours booked and everything canceled. And then you come home, you're kind of in shock, like what just happened? How long is this going to go on? And then you start getting the calls and emails that venues want their deposits back. So you've just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're not making deposits, and now they want you to write checks. April was not a very fun month.
I'm sure not. Well, here's to getting back to this. Hey, what are you drinking again? I meant to show everybody what you have.
Perrier Peach.
Wow.
It's my new obsession. 0 calories, 0 sodium, 0 everything. I don't know how they do it, but I love it.
And how many do you have a day?
Oh, I probably have, 2 a day, but then with vodka, maybe another one.
That's another thing. I've lost my tolerance for alcohol. We're not going out as much. So if I have something at home, I'm like, but thank you again so much for sharing time. I miss you. And you know how much I love you. And I want my friends to get to know you and listen to you and do those.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you soon. I will definitely. I've been wanting to come to Palm Springs because I have friends there and whatnot, but Palm Springs like shut down. Like you can't even do an Airbnb unless you're there for long term, like 30 days.
Yeah, and we're not hosting anyone right now, or I'd have you here tomorrow.
Yeah, but, we'll do it soon.
I hope so. Please give your hubby a nice big hug. And those dogs, they were very good. I only heard them once.
They're good.
You've got 3.
Yeah, we had 2 Goldens, and then we rescued an abandoned 1-year-old purebred Golden. That never happens. And she is literally insane, but also the sweetest dog you've ever met.
Well, we all love our babies too. So Lee, thanks again for joining me. All my friends and people out there who are listening, I hope you enjoyed getting to know my friend Lee Lessack a little bit better. And please go visit his site, check out his music, and check out the people who are on his label as well. Everyone's wonderful. See you guys.
Mwah.